where Ben and Frank host a party to celebrate the launch of Frank's new movie. Frank thanks Rayburn, his wife, and Ben, his best friend, for their support. Ben also goes down memory lane, informing the attendees about Frank before sharing a toast to their newly established studio. Later that night, Frank and Raymond discuss the party's success. He then tries to make love to her, but she pushes him away, giving him the excuse that she's tired. The white chocolate Frank snaps at her, complaining that she's been that way for a couple of months. He confronts her about her withdrawal from him, saying she's just a housewife, so she shouldn't be so stressed out. Finally, he asks if she's cheating, but she tries to deny it before eventually admitting to going back to black, saying Frank no longer has the stamina to keep up with her. Exasperated, he asks her, "Who's Tootsie Pop?" She licked, and after calling out a couple of names, Raven silently admits that she cheated on him with Ben. Still, Raven blames Frank for her infidelity and does not show any sign of remorse, so he informs her they'll be having a divorce. She rejects the idea, but Frank does not do stretched out lips before he leaves. She warns him that he'll regret it. Shortly outside, while Frank receives a phone call, Raven attacks him with a knife and stabs him multiple times in the back. Later, the police show up and she plays victim, crying that she killed him in self-defense because he abused her a lot. A couple of days later, one morning, in Atlanta, Chad Williams asked his wife, Deb, and Raven's sister if it's a good idea to have Raven stay over at their place. Devin defends her sister, saying she was a victim of her late husband and she needs someone to support her. Devin is fine. Chad complains that he won't be free in his house anymore, but Devin promises him that it'll just be for a while. Left with no choice, Chad agrees, and coincidentally, Raven shows up at their doorstep. The couple welcomes her warmly and tells her several times that she is intruding and that she should feel at home. After Chad asks Devin to make his favorite dinner, then he heads to work as soon as he leaves. The sisters go upstairs and they catch up on old times. Out of concern, Devin checks up on Raven and finds it surprising that she didn't inform her that Frank used her as a punching bag. Raven apologizes for not being open, so Devin tells her that what's hers is hers. Later at work, Joseph visits Chad, but he checks out his secretary. She got a whole bakery back there. Chad informs him of Raven, who has started living with him. Joseph relates to him and feels bad that Chad won't have privacy anymore. Still, Chad defends Raven and decides to look at the positive side of things. He then invites Joseph to come over and see Raven for himself because Joseph may want to clap that back at home. Devin does her chores and then goes out for a bit to exercise. Then she goes to the supermarket to get groceries for dinner. When she gets home, she sees the room arranged differently from how she left it, so she confronts Raven. But Raven simply brushes her off and makes fun of her sense of style. She then reminds Devin that she was always superior when it came to fashion. Later that night, Devin complains to Chad about how Raven always does whatever she wants and would not listen to any critique. But he reminds her that Raven is healing, so she should let her be. Chad calms her down and helps relax by letting her hop on his salami. Unknown to them that Raven watches them silently through the door. After getting a good view and seeing how capable Chad is, she silently closes the door and starts her plan. The next day at Chad's job, Raven shows up in a revealing outfit and brings him food. She then strikes up a conversation after learning he's a divorce attorney, and they lightly discuss the major reason why couples separate. Shortly after, she poses seductively, and he asks her what she wants, and then she shows him the food she brought for him, claiming that she made it to help him recover the energy he must have used up from clapping the previous night before leaving. She asks him for a hug, and when he decides to do what she wants, she grabs him and tells him she'd see him later. Her hole is pulsating his name in Morse code. Afterwards, Raven sees Devin going through her closet and trying on a few dresses, so she asks her what she's up to. Devin then explains that she's looking for an outfit to wear for dinner with Chad tomorrow night. Devin then invites Raven to come along and confesses that Chad's friend will be attending, so it'll be a blind date. Curious, Raven asks her what she'll be wearing to the outing, so Devin shows her a stunning dress Chad bought for her. He tells Raven that she hasn't worn it out yet. Realizing that Raven doesn't have an outfit for the event, Devin tells her to go through her closet for some clothes. The next night, Devin looks for her dress everywhere but can't find it. Chad shows up ready for the outing, and wonders why she isn't dressed in order not to be late to their reservation tomorrow. Nick Cannon pleads with her to put a different dress and he'll help her find it later. They go to the spot and wait for Raven, who is out running some errands. Eventually, she shows up in Raven's dress, claiming she was looking for a pair of shoes to match the outfit. Angrily, Devin takes her into the restroom and yells at her for taking the outfit, but Raven doesn't feel sorry. Instead, she gaslights Devin so bad she became flammable. Raven calls Devin insensitive because she barely made it out alive in her previous relationship. Devin apologizes and they return to the table happily like nothing happened. Surprise! Chad checks up on Devin, hoping all is good, and she assures him the couple watches Joseph and Raven hit it off. But Raven doesn't follow him home. Chad and Devin end up doing the nasty later that night. If he still wants you in a bonnet, he might be the one. Meanwhile, Raven plays with a lot of cash and records herself holding a gun in the middle of the night. Chad heads downstairs and snacks on some ice cream from the fridge, and Raven shows up in her underwear, claiming she wants some cream, too. She sits by his side, and then he says she has made herself very comfortable by having her cheeks guessed out. So she reminds him that it was their request. She'll make herself feel at home after Raven says they should keep things within the family. Chad quickly changes the topic, asking how things are going between her and Joseph. Raven says it's all right. Then he excuses himself to go to the bedroom, but she rushes to him and kisses him. Unable to hold his urge, he kisses her back before bending her over and showcasing why he's called Chad. Later, he crawls back into bed with Devin, acting like he didn't just share a cream pie with Devin's sister. The next morning, Raven hands Devin a salad. Unlike the home-cooked breakfast she made for Chad, confused, Devin speaks up, but Raven says there wasn't enough to go around. Devin looks pissed off, but Raven says she could lose a few pounds with her cellulitis. Devin asks for Chad's opinion, but he doesn't say anything and chooses to stay neutral. Left with no choice. Devin accepts the food, but warns Raven to be more considerate. Devin eventually leaves and informs Tiffany, her friend, about Raven's weird behavior. Once Tiffany learns that Raven has been bitchy for a couple of months, she advises Devin to kick her out for the sake of her marriage. Tiffany explains to her that Raven doesn't respect her and she needs to watch her, but Devin finds it hard to believe that Raven can sleep with Chad. Meanwhile, Raven does her morning exercise, and after having a shower, she plays with Chad in the living room. Unfortunately, Devin comes back from her talk with Tiffany and finds them in a questionable position, so she tells Chad to head upstairs with her. At first, he tries to resist, but sees how emotional she is getting. He goes to the bedroom before heading up. Devin orders Raven to put some clothes on. Later in the bedroom, Devin cries as she asks Chad if anything is going on between him and Raven, and he lies to her that there's nothing between them. One time at the bar, Joseph talks with Chad, but he completely zones out at Joseph's apartment. After having a good time with Raven, he asks her if she's ready for a serious relationship, and she says she isn't. He relates to her, but then tries to get her to realize that she'll have to move out of her sister's place eventually. Raven disagrees, and tells him they won't mind her bringing dudes into the house. But Joseph then talks about privacy and freedom, citing an example of moving about naked. To his surprise, Raven tells him that Devin and Chad wouldn't mind. Joseph probes further, asking why Chad won't worry, and Raven reveals that she slept with him. Immediately, Joseph calls Raven a thought and says he'll have to tell Chad because that's his bro. When he tries to call, Raven takes out a knife and slits his double chin, giving him only one, and now he's dead. The next day at the Williams residence, two detectives knock at the door, and after being welcomed, the detectives inform them of Joseph's death. Devin immediately breaks into tears as the detectives question the couple if they suspect anyone. They notice how quiet Raven is, so they question her. However, Chad and Devin stand up for Raven, but one of the detectives points out the fact that Raven killed the foreign Frank. The cops leave the residence, but hand Chad their card. Later in the bedroom, Chad tells Devin that Raven isn't as innocent as she thinks and reminds her that Raven killed Frank. Suspicious, Devin asks him what grounds he has to suspect her sister, so Chad opens up to her that he slept with Raven. Instantly, Devin gets mad at him, and as he tries to convince her that he was seduced, she doesn't listen to him. Instead, she believes that he took advantage of Raven Girl by despite the guilt. Chad tries to help Devin see clearly by reminding her that Raven never once mourned Frank. He then apologizes for not telling Devin about the affair, and he makes up his mind to go to the cops to tell them. Unbeknownst to him, that Raven was outside. Listening in on them, Chad walks toward the door to leave the room, but Raven shoots him in the head. Raven then apologizes to Devin, and shocked, Devin even blames Chad for trying to frame her sister for Joseph's death. Raven drops the gun and apologizes for sleeping with Chad, blaming him for taking advantage of her, wondering how they'll get rid of Chad's body. Raven says there's a dumb side revealing that she plans to frame him for Joseph's death in the bid to carry Chad's corpse. Devin moves toward the door and grabs the gun. She pointed at Raven, saying she knew she was a selfish thought but never knew she was a killer. Raven tries to convince her to put the gun away, even saying that the men she killed deserved it. But Devin says it's her turn and she shoots her in the head. She then recalls the happy memories she had with Raven and starts crying. It's hard to feel sorry for Devin, considering her sister showed plenty of times how weird she moved. However, it was a blessing in disguise because it helped Devin get rid of a man who likes to keep it in the family. What did you all think of this one? If you like this video, make sure you subscribe.